Hi, this is Bob from Hobby Concepts back with part 2 of my Beier SFR-1 full installation in this Tamiya stretch globe liner. I'm using the Radio Link radio with S-Bus. We've got servo hookups, wiring, interior. This truck has interior lights and dash lights. You've kind of been seeing in part 1 how I'm hooking up all the lighting and the servos. I really want to show off some of the capabilities of this SFR-1. So here we go, part 2. Let's get started. Actually, while I'm working on the cab, I'm actually painting it right now. I'll show you how to hook up the servos. So what I've done here is I've got this little servo to operate the coupler, and I've got that now on this switch. So I basically have it open and closed. And I'm going to go through how to do that, and then we'll actually hook up the shift servo, which I'm going to put on this switch right here, this 3-position switch. So I've got my servo for the coupler plugged into servo position number 1, and that's going to be this one, the switch right here, switch D, and I'll show you on the software how we do that. Okay, so at the main menu we're going to go over to configuration, and then we're going to go to outputs, but we're going to go to servo outputs. And servo outputs has a couple of different tabs. They have a sequence tab, they have a servo 1 and 2 tab. So we set up servo number 1 on prop 9. Okay, and prop 9, I went to the S-Bus. I assigned prop 9 to channel 9 on the radio, and then on the radio I went to my menu to the aux channels, and I went to channel 9 and I assigned channel 9 to switch D, which is the switch right here. So, and then I saved it. Now actually I'm going to go ahead and assign channel 10 to this switch, which is switch C, and then go back. So that'll assign my switch C to my shifting. And so then what I'll do is back here on this, I'm going to go prop 10 is going to be channel 10. So that gets my shift assigned. Okay, so anyway, back here at the servo outputs, I then says direct servo control with prop 9, and I set it to 80%. Now what happened was when I flipped the switch, the servo moved too far. It was overdriving. So the way you do that, it's like endpoint adjustments, but you just set the amount of travel you want. So I set 80%. So now for my shift servo, I'm going to activate output 2. I'm going to do that on prop 10, which is what we just set. Now you can have sounds if you want. I don't have any sounds in there, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to transfer the project data. So now we're set up to plug in a shift servo, and we'll go back to the truck and I'll plug one of those in. But that's how you work servos. You can run up to 2 servos directly off the SFR. So on my truck I've selected obviously the coupler and the shifting. So we'll go back and see what the shift looks like. Okay, for the shifting I just plugged a loose servo into the second spot, and the steering will plug into the 3rd spot, but now I've got low, medium, and high gear for the shifting. So that's how you set up the servos. It's very easy, and so now I think we've got all this stuff kind of set up. I'm going to go ahead and maybe even solder some wires and get back to work on my cab. Right now I'm painting it, and I'll have videos of that in the truck build video. So getting the SFR-1 set up for the body is basically the same as I did on the chassis. So I've got several parts here. I've got the grill, and you can see I've got 2 LEDs mounted in the grill. This is going to be a dome light, and I've got two LEDs already soldered together with my common and my negative in colors, and these will mount up through here like that, and that'll mount up in the top of the body. I've got my dash, which I constructed earlier, and I mounted the decals on it, so it's ready to go. These are going to be the work lights, and I drilled holes. I mounted a piece of plastic here on the back of the body and drilled some holes in it, and these work lights will mount in here, and like so. There's 4 of them, and those are soldered up. And then this is going to mount behind the grill like this, and it has 4 amber LEDs in it with a black decal on the front, and those I will hook up a flasher to, make them flash using the SFR, so I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and mount all these in the body. I've also got my turn signals and my roof lights. I've got to do all this wiring and pull that all together and tape it up on top. Once I get that done, I will pull all the body wiring down into a plug, and then I'll put a plug on coming out of the SFR-1 so I can take the body off and just pull one plug. One thing on these LEDs, there's 2 different types. Hopefully you can see this here. This one's kind of a frosty appearance, and this one is very clear. This is a high intensity LED, and it shines basically just forward. And these soft ones have more of the glow all the way around. So the headlights and the work lights, I used high intensity LEDs, and every other light in the truck is the standard LED, the frosted type, which have more of a glow to them. And that's the 2 different LEDs, and that's how they work. So I'll go ahead and get this body all finished up, all this wiring done, all of it pulled into a plug, and then I'll show you what that looks like before I get back to the SFR part. Well, I have spent a lot of time with my soldering iron over the last couple of days getting all this cab wiring done. And as you can see, I've got it all kind of taped up inside, and I brought it out into 3 separate plugs, which will plug into the body, so you can remove the cab by just unplugging these. And what I've got here is I have a list of every pin, so I can take plug A, which is a 3-pin plug, and red is headlight, yellow is turn signal, and blue is the common. And then I can do the 4-pin, and brown is the common, red is the work lights, orange is the dome lights, and yellow are the roof lights. And then on my 5-pin, I've got black is the common, white's the dash, gray is the turn signal, purple's the headlight, and blue is the grill lights, flashing lights behind the grill. As you can see, the cab is looking pretty nice. So now what I've got to do is, first I'm going to test all these just with power, make sure all the lights are working. And then what I've got to do is solder plugs onto the wiring for the SFR, and I'll go through that when I do it. Okay, so back to the truck. So I've got my SFR-1 here, and we have tested it out a little earlier, and know that's all working. So I've got my wiring hooked up with this temporary AKL8 so I can test everything, but now it's time to wire it directly into a cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this cable a little shorter and go ahead and solder on the wires in the same positions that they are in the AKL8. I've got 2 empty positions here, but on the body I've got a lot more than 2 sets of wires, so I'm actually going to need 2 of these, one here and one here, to hook up all the wiring. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up the body wiring so far. Then I'm going to switch the AKL8 over here so I can test the cab wiring. Okay, you can see how I've got these now soldered in instead of hooked through an AKL8. 3 wires are not soldered. There's the 2 turn signals and the marker lights. The reason I haven't soldered those yet is the marker lights are going to hook to the same connection as the headlights. So when the headlights come on, the marker lights come on. And then of course the turn signals, these are the chassis turn signals, but I've got some turn signals from the body I've got to hook. So I'll put the plug on those at the same time I hook them up. And I've been making notes here of which output number, and I've got two blanks right here, 7 and 8. So 7, I'm going to make the headlights. And that way I can hook the marker lights up to the same connection. And then 8, I'll probably make the roof lights. I don't know for sure yet. Black and white are common. So you can see I've got the black hooked to a common, and I've got a spare common right here. And when I add a second connector down here, I'll have 2 more commons, so I can hook those up. Yeah, it just takes a little bit of figuring to make sure you hook everything up right. And what I do is I have my battery here, I have my transmitter right here. So I hook something up, and then I test it. And then I hook the next thing up, and then I test it. So I kind of go through methodically and do it one step at a time, and that way I don't get myself all screwed up. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up the 2 turn signals and the headlight and marker light. This is what the wiring looks like. So I've got my plug that'll be my second one. I've wired the commons to the 2 common leads here, and that'll plug in, and those will plug into the body. You can see this body plug here had the left turn signal on it. So the common is wired to the second common wire on this, and the turn signal is wired in. You can see they're spliced together right there, the cab light and the body light. So that's my wiring there, and these other lights will wire into the appropriate place here, and by the time I'm all done, I'll have these 2 plugs, I'll have these 3 plugs that go to the body, and then all the wiring from the chassis is going to be permanently hooked in. So I know it looks a rat's nest, but really it's not if you do it 1 wire at a time, which is what we're doing. So I'm going to continue by hooking up this turn signal, and then one of these plugs has a turn signal. They'll splice together and hook into the turn signal wire from here. I have taken my my headlights from the body and now hook those up, and I hook those to position 7 on the SFR. So that's really my first set of body leads besides the turn signals, which were already programmed. So now they're hooked up to spot 7, but they're not programmed yet, so I'm going to go ahead and show how I do that. Alright, so over here I go to output 7, and I will just click the down arrow and find headlights. We'll click high beam headlight right there, and now we have to configure it so the radio will turn it on and off. And to do that, I'm going to go over to my prop channels tab, and we'll go to prop 4, which will be, let's go to the S bus here. Prop 4 is going to be channel 4 on the radio, and that's this lever right here, back and forth. And then we'll go back to prop channels. We're on prop 4, so we're going to have short in position. We're going to click down, and we're going to click high beam headlight, which is what we hooked up, and click OK. Transfer project data, we'll transfer that over. And now when I move the stick sideways, that should turn my headlights on and off. We'll come back and test that. So here's my body all hooked up, and as you can see, I now could turn the headlights on and turn them off by moving that stick to the side. Now I actually want to have the headlights turn on the opposite direction. I want them to go headlights this side, and I'll use this side for something else. So to fix that, let me just show real quick. I'll go back to my computer screen here and zoom in. Alright, instead of having it up here in the top, I'll click not used, and we'll click it down here in the bottom, And then we're going to go high beam headlight. Okay. Transfer project data. We moved it from the stick moving to the left or to the right to the stick moving to the left. And as soon as that transfers, it'll work. So I'll go back here to the whole project. We'll see if that works. Okay, so now the stick moving to the left turns the lights on and off. So that's how you organize it. Now also, I don't know if I can move this far enough, but I'll try it. I had the rear marker lights, which are these lights right here, also turn on with the headlights. And I hope you can see that on the screen. So we'll turn them off, turn them on. And one other cool thing about the headlights is I have it set so that when the engine start goes, the headlights will flash like the alternator's working hard. And you can adjust that flash rate, and I'll show you how a little bit later. So far, looking very good. Okay, as I move along, this is kind of a good representation of the second 10-core wire that comes from the SFR. It's the one that's going to go down in the bottom. And the first lead here, of course, went to my headlights, which we already hooked up. And then I used the second lead for my work lights, which are the rear-facing white lights, and the third lead for my dome lights. And then this is the common lead right here. So that's basically how I solder that together. So now if I plug this in and plug it into my body, I can program the work lights and the dome lights the same way as the other lights. And I'll show that. I know it's a little repetitive, but I want to go through every single step on this unit. Okay, you can see here I put output 9 on the long in position, output 10 in the short in position, and output 11 in the long in position. And what that gives me would be output 9 is roof lights, output 10 is work lights, and output 11 is dome lights. And that means that then that the short in position will be the high beam headlights on and off, and the long, whoops, darn touch screen. The long in position would be 3 seconds, and that would turn the roof lights on. And then short in position would be that way for the work lights on and off, and long in position would be my dome lights on and off. So let's grab the cab and we'll test it. I love to test things as I go, and you can move these around any way you want, but you can see that I've got 4 nice functions off of one back and forth switch. And you can even add in functions here which would be a halfway movement of the stick, and we may do that. But this radio has enough channels, I don't think we'll need to. We can use switches to activate other things. So let's take a look at the cab now. Alright, so here's the cab with the latest programming in my radio. So, short in position turns the headlights on, and long in position, 3 seconds, will turn on the dome light or the roof lights. Okay, short will turn the headlights off, long will turn the roof lights off. Now underneath, we've got some dome lights here. I hope you can see those. If I go over here, long in position, turns my dome lights on. Long in position, turns them back off. And then on the back of this cab, my bench is getting really full, a short in position will turn on my work lights. And those are directional, very bright. So, and that turns them back off. So far everything's working great. The only things I have left to hook up now are the dash lights and the lights behind the grill. So I'll go ahead and hook those up. Okay, so for these grill lights, I put those on channel 11. I assigned this switch here, switch A, to channel 11 in the radio, and then assigned channel 11 to prop 11, and I put output 8 in short in position. and I hook the grill lights to output 8, just like I've done everything else. So now the switch turns on the grill lights and turns them back off. But what I want is I want flashing lights in there. So I'm going to show you how to change those to make them flash and how to adjust the flash rate. So when I flip the switch, I'll get some flashing lights behind the grill. I think that'll be a pretty cool effect. Okay, so here's my grill over here and my program, and you can see output 8. I've got my grill lights on output 8. So I want to add a special effect. So to do that, I go over here to the outputs, and in output 8, right now it's blank, and I'm going to click the down arrow and click flashing. Now another box pops up here, which if you hover over it, it says flashing speed. So it's preset at 40, and we'll leave it there, and we'll transfer the project data, and we'll see what happens here when we flip our switch A. We didn't move the switch or anything like that. And it'll just take a second for everything to transfer. Okay, everything's transferred. So now when I flip the switch, there's my lights that are flashing. Now, I don't like that flashing speed. I was thinking of something much faster. Turn it back off here. So we're going to go over here to flashing speed, and we're going to change it to 80. And transfer project data. This is the cool thing about having the data cable. You can just change things here and change them on your truck and see if you like them or see if you don't like them. You can move positions around on the radio. It's very easy once you get the hang of it. Okay, so everything's transferred. And now it's even slower. Okay, so we went the wrong way. So we're going to change it to say 15. 1, 5. Right there, transfer project data. It'll take a second for everything to transfer. And really, a lot of this is just trial and error to see how you like it on your truck. Okay, so everything's transferred. Oh yeah, that's much better. That's kind of the effect I was hoping for. So that looks good. I'm going to leave it there. And that's how you do a special lighting effect. So here's the complete installation of the SFR. Now I've got all my wiring plugged in. You can see I've got the one cable from the receiver, and I've got the speaker. I don't need a volume control because I'm doing that through the radio. And all I have to do is plug these into the motor. So now this is ready to install in the truck. I do have additional things I want to add, sound effects and some other things, but it can be installed in the truck to do that. There's no more wiring that needs to be done. So anyway, that's kind of what the complete installation looks like. Now I'm actually going to add some sound effects before I put it in the truck, just to show you how I do those. Okay, I mentioned that now was pretty much time to install the SFR into the truck. I did hook up the dash lights directly to the headlights, so they come on with the headlights. Didn't require any programming here. But what I want to do before I install it is add some horn sounds. So what I've done is, if I go to the configuration and I go to the S-Bus, I hooked up S-Bus prop 3 to channel 2 on the receiver, which is this stick right here up and down. And that's going to give me my horn sounds. So I'm going to go to prop 3 here, and I'm going to add horn sounds into the short in position and long in position sounds. Well, what I want is I want a horn when I go here, and when I hold it for 3 seconds I want a different horn. Down here I want a horn, 3 seconds I want a different horn, and I can even do a partial stick movement to get a different horn. So I'm going to add 6 different horn sounds here, all on this one stick. So I'm going to start with just a standard old horn which is this one right here, additional sound 3, Westinghouse horn. Okay, and give me a second to plug in my unit. Okay, I plugged my SFR into battery, so I'm going to transfer the project data. And what that's going to do is going to load this additional sound into the SFR. So we'll let that load. Okay, so now perfect. So now I'm going to load a sound in the long in position, and we're going to pick number 9 here, which is this horn right here, and click OK. And then we're going to do basically the bottom of the stick, which is up here. So the short in position sound, we're going to do number 6, which is the Eyes of Texas. In the long in position, we'll do number 4, which is a cute sound. And in the mid position, we're going to do sound 15, which is the horn sound from the Dukes of Hazzard. And in the long position, we're going to do sound 7, which is a call to the post. So we're going to transfer all those. Now, like I said, I could even do this if the unit's installed in the truck. It has nothing to do with the installation. You don't have to add any wiring or do anything else. So now we're transferring the sounds. And if you want to see a list of the sounds and what they sound like, you can go to the additional sound tab up here, and there's all the sounds, and you can even test them by, well, let's test number 15 here, the Dukes of Hazzard sound. We press the little arrow, and that's on my computer speaker. We'll go back here to the configuration tab, and now if I go part way down, that's the same sound on the truck. If I go all the way down, 3 seconds, and part way down for 3 seconds. Then up, and then long up. So there you go, 6 different sounds off of one stick. Now I think I've got the unit basically exactly where I want to put it in, except for one thing. I want to add a song. I want to add the theme song from the movie Convoy, and I want to put it on that switch right there. So first off, I'll go to the S-Bus, and that's going to be prop 12, and we'll put it channel 12 on the radio. Okay, on the radio, we'll go to the menu, go over to aux channels, and we'll go here to channel 12, and that's going to be switch B. So we're going to change this to SWB. Okay. All right, so that's how we handled that. So now, switch B is going to activate prop 12. So we'll go up here to prop 12, proportional channels, prop 12, and short in position, we are going to do the wave player, play and stop. Now the wave player is this tab right here on the top line, and you can add all kinds of sound effects in here. The cool thing about the sound effects you have here is you can start them and stop them anytime you want. The random sounds, or the additional sounds, like the horns, once they start, they play all the way through. So if you've got a really long sound like the theme song from the movie Convoy, you might want to be able to turn it on and then turn it off after a minute or two. And that's why we're going to use the wave player. So now all we have to do is open this up and go find the file. and I've actually got the file someplace. I can't even remember where I put it. It's in one of these, and I may have to poke around and find it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I found that file on my computer, and basically that's a file I took directly from YouTube. This comes with a free YouTube sound converter where you can take YouTube videos and get the sound off them and dump them into your program. I show how to do that in another video. I'm not going to show that today. That was on my computer. I just found it, dumped it in there. And so now, if I flip this switch, we get our sound effect, and that's the theme song from the movie Convoy. I'm not going to play the whole song. It's really long. But that shows you how it works, and you can flip it on and off at will. So now I am basically completely done with the SFR, and I'm going to go ahead and install it in the truck. Okay, time to install the SFR in the truck. So the first thing I'm going to do is the speaker, and I've unplugged it. I'm going to mount that with double sticky tape right up here in the top of the cab. It's barely shows in the side window, and I think that'll be as good a spot as any for it. The unit itself has a heat sink right here, and mount the seats. What I'm going to do is make a little bracket to hold it about this position. The receiver will go over on this side, and then I'm going to build a sleeping bunk back here to cover it. So when you're looking from the windows, you're going to just see the sleeping bunk and the seats, and I'll probably build a little console down here. So we'll get working on that. So the SFR is done. You can see I've got my wiring from the cab plugged in. I've got my shield built to hide all the wiring, and pillow and Winston and driver and everything's done on the interior. So now I just got to fix the body, and then the truck will be done, and we'll do some tests. I thought I'd start off the showing off some of the finished features with the horn sounds. I've got 6 different horns. They're all hooked to the up and down on the right stick. So 1 second up. That's a great horn. 3 seconds up. 1 second down. 3 seconds down. Halfway down for 1 second. Halfway down for 3 seconds. So that's all 6 horn sounds. So there we go. The Beier SFR-1 full install video. I hope this was helpful. I did everything I could think of. It still has more functions than this, but oh my gosh, as you can see, it's small, it works beautifully, and it worked great in this truck. So let's just take a look at some of the functions on this truck. The first one is we have the theme song from the movie Convoy. And I'm not going to play too much of that just because I don't want to get a copyright strike. So we've got our lighting, we've got our headlights, our roof lights, our rear work lights back here, our interior lights, and the interior lights really light up the interior. It's going to be hard to show on video, but you can see a little Winston in there on the bunk. You can see the cheeseburger and the Coke just great. We've got our bumper lights, our underglow lights, and I'm not going to leave those on because they kind of mess with the video. And then we've got our engine start. Now, we've got it set for a lighting effect when the engine starts. So you can see how that works when the lights are starting up. Looks really cool. Our volume control, of course, is right here on the radio. On the back end here, you can see our tail lights, and the marker lights here work with the headlights. Turn signals, of course. We go into reverse, we have our flashers, our warning lights. Turn the headlights back on. We've got our work lights up here, off and on, and they do a nice job of lighting it up. Shut the engine off here. And then we've got our flashing grille lights. So lots of cool effects on this truck. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. Like I said, I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I showed you some of the capabilities of this Beier system. It has more capabilities, which I will continue to explore in the future. I know a lot of you have been asking me for this video, so I'm glad that I could do it. Thumbs up. I really like those thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. As I shoot this video, I'm headed out of town. It's the first part of October in 2021. I'll be gone until November. So if you order something from me, it won't ship till I get back. But when I get back, full speed ahead, new videos coming. I'm going to do a video on the PL18 EV and the Beier SFR-1. I know a lot of people have been asking about that, and I'm going to continue to build trucks and do truck stuff. So thank you so much for all the comments, for watching. I just appreciate all you guys. I get emails all the time. I just am having a blast doing this, and I really enjoy it, and I'm going to keep doing it because it's pretty fun. So there you go. Check in the description for any links. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.